Welcome to Forensic Friday,
where we examine the intersection of true crime, psychology, and the heart of being human in the middle of it all. I just read that, according to TikTok, every relationship has a black cat and a golden retriever.
Am I the black cat? I'm the black cat.
I can't even believe you asked that question. You are the black cat. You, sir, are the golden retriever. You, sir, are the golden retriever. I am the black cat.
What?
No.
You're
Do
the
you think you're a
retriever.
black cat?
Gare is the black cat for sure.
Do you think we're both golden retrievers?
No.
Are you the black cat?
Yes.
Garrett's the
Where
black
have you
cat.
been?
Absolutely.
But I feel like
Is
you're
it
so
your first
lovely.
day?
Well, you know what? You don't talk to anybody. That's true.
She's new here.
I am, in fact, not new here. I've been
Welcome to
here
the
for 20
conversation.
years. 20 years.
It's okay. Natalie won't admit that she's an extrovert, but everyone else in her life knows that she is.
A little bit. You have moments. She needs to power down sometimes.
I think these days I'm more of an introvert than
It's not
she
true.
is.
You're a raging extrovert.
No, I know I am. I know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm
But you
claiming-
think you're more introverted than she is. Like, if that was the continuum. I hear that.
That's not true, though.
I'll take it into consideration.
I need like my own space, my own time. Like that's how I can do the thing.
Listen, TikTok says a lot of dumb stuff, but they have some smart stuff too. And I just found out my husband's a black cat because Natalie told me so. And so did Preston. And so did Gare.
Yeah, he's the tech guy in the van being like, going through this door. That guy's never the golden retriever.
You're so right. He's the black cat. You're the freaking black cat.
He's that badass in the Tom Cruise movies that's like, in 200 yards you're gonna find it. That's him.
Simon Pegg.
That's the actor's name?
Would
Yeah.
you be doing that?
Probably. And you wouldn't be listening to me.
The tech
Oh,
guy.
that's for damn sure. I would not be listening well in any situation, but certainly not
basically
that
it would
situation.
be exactly like Mission Impossible.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about communication styles.
Absolutely.
So we decided to record the four of us because we feel like probably our husbands have important information that would be helpful. Because we think we know a lot of things, but they actually know better whether we actually know what we're talking about.
We're recording this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I got that in recording.
Why are you afraid?
No, that I know better.
Oh my gosh, you're already pissing me off. This is going to be great. Garrett likes to use about 50 to 100 words a day, and most of them are not
I've
irritating.
been saving them up all day.
Oh,
I'm so excited.
You got
for
them all
this.
right now.
we should just do this every week. This is great. It's like a double
Preston
date.
says more words than I do, I think.
Probably not because I work alone, but
You have
That's true.
100 times more words than Natalie does.
But when we are home, he's just like,
Oh,
I try to have a conversation with her when she's like burnt out and she's just zoning out on Instagram. And then sometimes I'll just walk out of the room when she doesn't respond to me.
Preston, I feel so seen right now. We need to just call each other when this happens and talk about literally nothing.
I think I have a relationship with the backside of Natalie's phone.
That's fair.
he's being dramatic.
I mean,
Here's the thing. This was a bigger issue in my last job than it is now.
well, that's because we have life-work balance. Well, in fairness, Preston, I'm probably the one distracting your wife 90% of the time because we text incessantly.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
be
well-
mindful.
Stop talking to her
I'll back you up.
for 30 minutes.
I'm like, Janine's not responding. He's like, weird. So let's talk about fishing.
She
I'm like,
must be busy.
Preston goes, are we recording all this?
Yes.
Anyway, moving on.
Understood. Okay, communication styles. So Natalie and I are going to lay them out, and then you guys are going to help us talk about how they play out in relationships, like in real time. You're allowed to share some
One
story.
example.
You can give an example. It's okay. Gare's looking at me like, "Are you sure?" I'm sure. It's gonna be
And then
fun.
just go check yourself into a hotel for the rest of your night.
Run like you're on fire.
I already have one booked. It has 2 queen beds. You can join me, man.
Nat gets in her car and comes to my house. I send Garrett.
I'll just put myself on a high shelf. She can't reach me.
That was good.
I would climb up something to get to you. in
Hiding
that
on top of the
situation.
refrigerator like a cat.
That's the like a cat. That's the motivation I need to get on a step ladder, to be honest.
I have a step ladder. I never knew my real ladder.
Wow. Maybe don't use as many words. Dad joke. This is what happens.
It's great.
I know.
Okay.
Nat, what are the communication styles? The 4.
There's 4 of them. There is passive, passive-aggressive, aggressive, and assertive.
Crushed it. It's almost like we've been teaching this for 10 years, at least.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. So, passive, we all know. Passive people.
That is like, I'm going to just avoid the conflict at all costs. The person on the receiving end might not even know that there's a conflict.
That's you. In case you didn't know.
I was going to say, I think out of the 4 of us, that's Gare.
100% that's Gare.
Yeah.
Passive black cat. So because somebody who's communicating in a passive way doesn't express their needs, they often don't get their needs met.
Yes.
They also don't meet the needs of the other person because they're not participating much in the communication.
Correct. And passive people don't stay passive forever.
Oh, true story.
At some point, they either get passive aggressive or aggressive because they're a tea kettle. They get to a boiling point and then they tip over.
And they tend to make excellent lists. They just observe and then they report when they get really pissed.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Are you dissociating?
I'm just wondering why you're looking at me.
The
You're sitting next to me and you're the passive. What's it like to be a passive human, Garrett? I will never know.
All right.
What's all right about it, babe?
It's all right.
Are you here's my question for passive people. Are you internally thinking all kinds of things you would like to say but don't say? Or are you just like blank canvas? There's nothing happening.
It depends on the day.
What about on a particularly spicy day?
I don't think you could put a passive person in just those 2 categories.
Blank canvas or all the words?
What's that?
What are the categories you're thinking, buddy?
Well, when you're saying like, do you just not care or are you just not saying it?
Yes. You're saying there's a middle.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think there are a lot of passive people that do just let stuff roll off their back and nothing is boiling up inside of them. And I'm jealous of those people sometimes, but
yeah.
And then there are the passive people where you're like, oh, this guy's gonna
lose it. Maybe Nat and I sample size is tampered with a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. That's why, that's
fair.
why we need a non-therapist voice on this podcast sometimes.
That's fair. I mean, I get it. We have a definite population / sample size when it comes to.
Yes.
You guys are like asking a prison guard about human behavior.
Not.
I don't know that it's quite that.
Anyway.
It's probably a little different than like a barista, like it's a bit.
Natalie frequently requests that I don't murder her if I don't love her anymore and that I just leave her instead.
Okay, I'm just going to say though, when we talk about like bear versus man, that is an important distinction in relationships. Garrett and I have a pact that we won't kill each other. It's the Mr. and Mrs. Smith pact.
Is this that thing, that trend that's going around?
Yeah, but hold on. We're not going into that because that's a whole nother thing.
I know Preston's going to have thoughts on that. So
I know. And we're not there. So what did you just say before that? Before the bear thing got brought up?
That he doesn't think people either just aren't thinking anything or don't have things to say or they're, and that it's building up.
I think that both of those categories exist, but I also think that there's people that they can experience something that would maybe like offend the hell out of somebody else and not even register it as offensive.
They don't even feel it the same way.
They're like, oh, why should I? Like if someone asked him about it, like, did that make you mad? He's like, why should it have? I don't know.
No, sorry. My comment was about when he said Natalie frequently asked me to not murder her if whatever. Yeah. That was I'm going back to that. So I'm going to just make it clear that that started years ago when I was working at my last job.
Yeah.
Because we were working all remote, and I had shown that Chris Watts case over and over because I had to break it up for my groups. I was showing that documentary for my groups. And so and I had 10 freaking groups back then.
That's a wild choice. What were you teaching them?
So I was teaching them how it happened for Chris Watts, how he went from where he was to like murdering his whole family.
Yeah.
And there was an affair involved and all the things. So I told Preston, I said, and because I watched it so much, it created so much anxiety in me.
Yeah.
And to Preston, I was like, just go. Like, I don't want to die. No one needs to die. Just go.
Yeah.
That's how that went.
And I'm like, okay.
Literally, it was ridiculous. Okay, so communication. So passive communicators either really are just super chill, but that's what I used to think I was. So I'm going to share about that in a second. They're either super chill and they really don't care about like a lot of things and conflict, and they're like, whatever, like peace, love, rock and roll.
Or maturity.
Maturity goes with assertive.
Yes.
Or they are like they are stewing and they like push it all down, and then at some point they explode, right?
Which clinically we see more of, but again, that's a clinical population. So
yes.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, what do you guys, since you're the professionals, what's your opinion on a person that as they get older and more, why are you making that face?
I'm waiting for your question.
That's a weird question.
I'm excited for it.
Okay. A person that as they get older decides that just things are not worth getting upset about. And that they're just like, that's just not, it just doesn't bother me anymore. It's not worth it.
I feel like I call that, it's not necessarily a communication style, in my opinion. That's more of like, kind of like what you were saying, like maturity and a hill not worth, like, that's not worth dying on. You know, I don't think that really goes with a communication style. I think that goes more with like emotional boundaries of what you are or what you're not going to let bother you.
But the faceted nature of these exact topics is what makes me it makes me cringe. And don't take offense to this for you guys, because I'm not making a statement about you. But what I'm saying, it makes me cringe. These, like, when people are like, there's 4 kinds of people, there's 4 categories of this, there's 5 love languages, there's this and this and this, and you fit 2 of them. It's just not true, because there's like 7 billion people on this planet.
100%. So our brains like to categorize things because it's easier and it protects us.
That's
You're so right. It's typically way more multifaceted than that. And the more people tend to describe how they're different, the more they tend to back themselves right into a box.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fascinating. So I think categories do exist, but I think very few people just fall into a specific category. I think we have so many traits of all kinds of things. There are times when I'm passive. I joke that I don't even know what that feels like, but that's not entirely true. I have moments, and actually everybody uses all 4 of the styles at different times. So like if our kid is trying to run in the middle of the street, I'm going to be aggressive. Probably. I'm going to be like, stop. Like, I'm going to yell. I'm going to want him to stop immediately. If somebody was putting him in danger, I'm probably not going to be assertive, to be frank. I'm probably going to be pretty darn aggressive. So I think we borrow from all the styles anyway. So you're right. I don't think it's as easy as that.
It's not as black and white.
Yeah.
Okay, so we understand passive.
Yes.
Passive aggressive. I err on the side of passive aggressive.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Or no.
Me too.
If you guys could see Preston's face right now for our listeners.
He's like,
the biggest grin and was like,
He knows.
He knows. He has an example.
Yeah. That's
pretty funny. I told him he could share it.
I'm excited. I want to hear it.
Okay. So we go to some friend's house the other night, old friend of mine that we've reconnected with, and we're hanging out at their house. Her husband's kind of showing me around, And he has this, like every man's dream panic room that he had built into the basement of his home.
Okay.
It's like this panic room with like a bench where he works on his guns, a gun safe. He's got like, it's just and it's, steel plated.
Yeah.
Security door, all this stuff, right? He's commenting like the only thing I should have done differently, I should have put a ventilation to smoke cigars in here. And so we're all in there nerding out over his.
Yeah.
And on the way home, I'm telling her about it.
I didn't see the panic.
She didn't get to see it. The guys there were walking around while the girls were hanging out elsewhere. And so she didn't get to see the panic room. So I'm telling her about it. I'm like, he's got basically like the exact panic room I've built in my mind for my house someday in his basement.
Okay.
And she goes, well, if you would work harder on our house, you could have one of those too.
Natalie, that's master class passive aggressive. I couldn't be more proud. Oh gosh. Here's one of the things that I think has not helped Natalie and I. We're both exceptionally passive aggressive people, which is hilarious until it's not. Right? And
usually not hilarious.
It's not sometimes, especially
it is when it's not pointed at you.
Well, and it is when it's not really in a harsh way trying to send a message, right?
Or
like
malicious, yes.
Yeah, with the kind of that malicious, like I want to say this, but I'm gonna say that.
Yeah.
So it can be sarcastic, sassy, all of that, but it can also be I'm slamming a cabinet door because I'm pissed, but I'm saying I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
Where my behavior doesn't line up with the words that are coming out of my mouth, right? That's passive aggressive too. So I'm fine.
Okay, wait. Can I ask you a side note? And Natalie, you're not allowed to chime in until she says her answer.
Snap.
You do you, boo.
Is that okay?
I think that was the passive aggressive.
I don't know if it's okay.
Okay.
You do you, boo. Was also.
You just mentioned sarcasm.
Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yes.
Hold on.
Ask.
Hold on. I'll lay out a hypothetical for you.
I'm ready.
If I'm having a conversation with someone maybe such as yourself, who I'm confident that your intelligence level can pick up sarcasm.
Gosh, that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
And not, well, some people, not everyone's too bright.
You're not wrong. Some people are not worthy adversaries.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I'm confident, and I love sarcasm.
Oh, me too.
If I'm confident that the person I'm having the conversation with is intelligent enough to pick up on sarcasm,
right?
And know that we were both mutually we both know what's happening here.
100%.
Do you think that it's always what do you say it is? It's like a poor form. It's always.
It's not always. No. Okay. Preston sometimes
she refuses to admit
says a comment that is pointed. It's what we were just saying. That's pointed at something or someone. And I'm like, that's passive aggressive. And he's like, it's sarcasm. And I'm like, no. Sarcasm.
She has said to me that sarcasm is always passive.
It's not always passive aggressive. I've never said always. The way you use it is passive aggressive. He'll literally say something, and I'm like, dude, that's super passive aggressive. I need you to be direct. And then he's like, no, it's sarcastic. I'm like, sarcasm, genuine, funny sarcasm that's not pointed is like, it's been a great freaking day today when it hasn't been. But when you're like,
that's not funny.
Oh my God. Anyway,
I will say that the top shelf sarcasm. Okay, we're talking about like the vintage good shit sarcasm. Okay, the good stuff is typically at someone's expense because that is the sarcasm that's fun.
But if everyone's in on the joke, then it's good.
Potentially, yes.
Okay, next time Preston says something that I tell him it's passive aggressive, I'm going to text it in our forensic chat and we're going to take a vote.
We'll be the judge and jury.
Perfect.
The British are famous for this dry sense of humor, sarcasm, and it's so funny. And those are the things that I typically do find hilarious. So I'm with you there. When we're talking about it as a communication style, like a style of getting a message to someone else, it is probably, in my opinion, the most damaging over time because it just erodes a little bit at a time.
Yes.
If you don't know what the person is actually saying and if they don't know how to be direct. So if we're just being funny, sarcastic because we're connecting and laughing about something and we're not trying to get a serious message across or something we really care about across, then it can be just entertaining. The reason that it can be kind of toxic in relationships is because we're not really saying it. And there is an element in the more toxic brand of sarcasm where there is kind of a little bit of a
condescension.
yes. Yeah, where it's a little bit like the person's stupid or like I can't even lower myself to like tell you what this is. I'm just going to joke about it on the fly because it's not even worth my energy to talk about it. It can be kind of dismissive in many ways. So the problem with passive aggressive communication is it's disorienting sometimes for the listener.
Mm-hmm.
And it also is pretty primed up for gaslighting because you're going to say something and you might say it funny or you might say it just like, okay, if I tell Garrett I'm fine and he knows I'm not fine. And then he starts getting frustrated with me because I'm not talking to him, but I'm slamming drawers, I'm slamming cupboards, I'm doing whatever. I'm letting him know I'm mad.
Yep.
But I won't own that I'm mad. Then as he continues to pursue me to try to know what's going on, I can look at him and go like, dude, what's your problem? I told you I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you so obsessed with me? Like, get over it, right? That is
so obsessed with me.
I know, right? No, I don't think that there's many things we can do to our partner that's more damaging than being sarcastic when there's real feelings involved.
Yes, when there's
We
tension.
can really hurt somebody and it's just disrespectful. I would rather have somebody yell at me with real words and real feelings, I think. And I'm a sarcastic person saying that, than have them just kind of sideswipe me with something, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Passive aggressive is a lose-lose because at the end of the day, I'm mad and now I've just made you mad.
Absolutely. What about aggressive, Nat?
Aggressive, out of the four of us, that would probably be Preston.
Yeah.
He is more of an aggressive communicator. And I think you've gotten a lot better about it, but aggressive communication is
Saying aggressive like it's a bad thing.
aggressive isn't always bad. Like Jeannine said, we can use aggressive communication in areas where, right, like your kid's running across the street, you're going to get aggressive, you're going to scream, you're going to yell, you're going to do everything you can to make sure that they run across that street. So it's not that aggressive communication doesn't have a place, but when we are using aggressive communication in a conflict, the person on the receiving end of the aggressive communication is going to shut down.
Yes.
So when we're in a conflict and someone slams their hand on the table or they yell or they raise their voice, the other person is going to do one of two things. They're either going to match them.
Yep.
And now neither one of us are being heard nor wanting to hear each other.
Yeah.
We're just wanting to say the thing as intensely as we can, or we're going to shut down because we can't hear aggressive communication, right? It's like when you get yelled at when you're a kid, it's not always the most helpful because our brain just shuts down. We go into fight, flight, or freeze. And if you're a freezer, you're just sitting there trying to make it until it's over, right? If you're a fighter, you're going to be like, okay. You're going to be the appeaser, maybe the passive communicator. And you're going to say, yep, you're right, just to appease, or you're going to fight back, right?
Yep.
You're going to match their level. And so aggressive communication in conflict with anyone really is not the most effective way to communicate or to get a point across. It's just not. You end up looking angry. You look sometimes out of control, and it's not effective.
Totally.
I think oftentimes we're going to move into assertive. Oftentimes people mistake assertive and aggressive because people think assertive is someone who doesn't have a backbone. But I actually think assertive is the only type of way in conflict.
Yes.
Let me be clear.
Yeah.
In conflict that we actually have a backbone.
Yeah.
Aggressive humans, I don't think have backbones, to be honest.
You can knock them over with a feather.
Yes, they're just yelling and angry because they don't actually have the skill sometimes, especially when they're yelling or whatever, to actually have a conversation and work through conflict. It's just my way or the highway. So I get all the time from friends, groups, whatever, where they say, well, I am assertive. And then I'll have a conversation and they're like, well, you're just wrong and that's incorrect. And whatever. And they might not even be yelling, but it's like, no, I'm not wrong about
whatever. Right.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times aggressive individuals think, again, they're trying to be assertive or they're being assertive because they think that they're being direct. But in reality, they're just being loud and kind of bullies.
Totally. And when you think about assertive communication, our society doesn't do that very well. We're typically passive or passive aggressive or aggressive. We don't see really good models of assertive communication very often. People laugh at Natalie and I at work because we're extremely direct with each other. That has created so much safety in our friendship because I think we trust each other to tell the truth.
Yeah.
If you're not up for something, that's cool. I can hear that. We were laughing about that earlier today. If we're trying to navigate something with scheduling, if we're trying to figure out responsibilities at work, any of that, even who's going to do what in terms of admin stuff, like there's just a way that you can just be honest about where you're at and what you need.
Yep.
And if you do that long enough with somebody and they're able to reciprocate it, it actually builds a whole lot of trust.
Yep. And it is very direct. I mean, assertive communication is the most direct way of communicating. Right? It's, hey, this is what my need is, or this is how that felt, and let's talk about it and figure it out.
Yep.
And there's less room for defensiveness, right? I always tell people assertive communication makes up for 3 main components. Vulnerability. I have to share what I'm feeling with that, whatever's happening, whatever conflict's going on. I'm going to share what I feel. I'm going to have empathy for your experience. I might not agree with your experience. In my brain, I might feel like, well, I don't understand why you're upset about that, but I'm going to have empathy for your experience because I still impacted you in a way that isn't a way that I would intentionally want to impact you. I never want to hurt Preston. I never want to like make him feel like crap. And obviously there's times where I do. I don't like when that happens. So I'm going to have vulnerability. I'm going to be empathetic. The third one is boundaries, right? Like I rarely let myself yell. So if we're in a conflict and I've shared those things, right? I've shared how I feel. I've had empathy. Oh, the other part is ask how they feel, right? But then if I feel like I'm about to get really angry or I'm going to yell, I do the best that I can to take a time out, to remove myself from that situation so that I don't cross my own boundary of being disrespectful to someone that I care.
Right. And part of assertive communication too is, we talk about, and we'll get into this in a future episode, but the 5-to-1 Gottman ratio, that we need to have 5 positive interactions to every negative, and that's in conflict. So if we think about it that way, assertive doesn't mean I'm just going to complain assertively all the time either. I can be assertive in the sense that I'm specific. So I can say to Garrett, I appreciate XYZ. Like you do these things so well. I would love it if I had more of this, or if we had more of this, right? Being able to sort of not throw the baby out with the bathwater and be upset about everything or lump everything together, but to be able to be intentional and specific about what it is that we're trying to solve. And the person's more likely to hear it accurately then. So that's why it's the most effective as well.
Yes.
So be assertive. Be assertive this week. Go get them. And we'll probably get into this, as we're talking about different cases and stuff too. But we wanted to give you a quick overview with the husbands present to keep us honest.
I hope we were entertaining.
I'm pretty sure we were. Hate it for our editor. He's going to get a workout.
I'm going to make you all sound funny. Passive aggressive.
Thanks so much. And we'll see you next time.
Bye, forensic friends.
I'm Jeannine.
And I'm Nat.
And as always, thanks for listening and join us next week for more Crime, Psychology, and Heart.